He arrived quietly at the Grand Hotel's circular driveway, dressed in his neatly pressed but modest suit, hoping only to do his job and leave unnoticed. Inside, crystal chandeliers glowed over a hall filled with influential guests celebrating the billionaire CEO's latest success. As her personal driver and a devoted single father, he had always kept a respectful distance from her world of power and privilege. But tonight was different. When her parents spotted him waiting near the entrance, their expressions hardened. They whispered sharply, questioning why someone of his status was even allowed inside, their disapproval cutting deeper than he expected. Yet he lowered his gaze and endured it in silence. The tension escalated when they summoned their daughter and began praising a wealthy suitor they had chosen for her, speaking as if her future were a business deal already signed. She stood frozen, torn between duty and her own unspoken feelings, while the driver watched from afar, his hands clenched as memories of her struggles resurfaced in his mind. He remembered the nights he had driven her home after exhausting meetings, the quiet conversations where she admitted how alone she felt despite her success. Unable to bear her pain any longer, he stepped forward, interrupting the carefully orchestrated moment, his voice steady but filled with emotion as every eye in the room turned toward him. Gasps rippled through the crowd as he confessed that he had admired her strength for years and had secretly used his own knowledge and sacrifices to help her navigate crises that threatened to destroy everything she had built. Before doubt could silence him, he gently took her hand, and in a moment that defied every social boundary in that glittering hall, he kissed her. Time seemed to stop. Her parents stared in disbelief, guests frozen between outrage and astonishment, while she looked at him not with shock, but with a fragile relief, as if someone had finally spoken the truth she had been too afraid to admit. For a heartbeat, no one moved, no one spoke. Then whispers erupted, cameras discreetly lifted, and the carefully controlled evening unraveled into chaos. Yet in the center of it all, the driver and the CEO stood facing each other, the invisible walls of status and expectations shattered around them. He braced himself for humiliation, certain he had crossed a line that could cost him everything, including his job and reputation. Instead, she held his hand tighter, her eyes shining with unshed tears, silently declaring that the moment of courage had changed not only the night, but the course of both their lives forever. Instead of the outrage everyone expected, a heavy silence settled over the room as she stepped forward, her voice trembling yet firm, and took his hand in front of her stunned parents. She revealed that during the darkest period of her company, when trusted executives had abandoned her and bankruptcy loomed, it was this quiet driver who had stayed after hours, studying reports and offering bold ideas that no one else dared to suggest. At first, she had dismissed his input, bound by the same social barriers that now filled the room, but his insights had saved thousands of jobs and rebuilt the empire they were celebrating that very night together. Her parents' expressions shifted from disbelief to confusion as she continued, explaining how he had never asked for recognition, never tried to step beyond his role, choosing instead to protect her reputation while carrying the burden of secrecy alone. The wealthy suitor waiting nearby suddenly seemed irrelevant, a symbol of the life chosen for her rather than the life she truly wanted. With quiet defiance, she announced that respect, loyalty, and courage meant more to her than alliances built on money, and that she would decide her own future. The driver stood speechless, overwhelmed not by the grandeur of the hall, but by the realization that she was risking everything for him. News of the dramatic evening spread quickly, turning whispers into headlines that questioned who the mysterious man really was and how a driver could hold such influence over a global corporation. Days later, speculation ended when she walked into the company's headquarters with him at her side and formally introduced him as her new business partner. Executives who had once ignored him now rose to their feet in stunned respect, recognizing the calm intelligence behind his humble demeanor. He accepted the role not with pride, but with the same quiet determination that had guided him through years of struggle as a single father trying to build a stable life for his child. As the announcement echoed across media outlets and boardrooms, public opinion shifted from shock to admiration, inspired by a story that challenged the belief that success belonged only to the privileged. Employees spoke of renewed hope. Investors saw a leader unafraid to value character over image, and even her parents were forced to confront the truth that greatness sometimes arrives without wealth or status. Standing together before cameras, flashing like distant lightning, they showed the world that love and partnership built on trust could rewrite destinies. What began as a scandal became a powerful reminder that the strongest foundations are often laid by unseen sacrifices and unwavering faith.